Coach of the Year. This was a tough one because when I first sat down to do it, they make you fill out like your top 3 picks, and they do it with a drop-down menu. So the first thing I did was I put Monty Williams at the top at number 1. And the reason I did that was because I always felt Phil Jackson didn't get enough credit when I covered those Bulls teams for being a great coach, that people just looked at his talent and said, oh, he's got the best players. And the one, I think he had to win like 72 games to get the Coach of the Year award. How many times did he win Coach of the Year?
Let me check.
I want to say once, twice max. And he was the best coach, and there wasn't any question about it. But it's a narrative award. So I was going to say the Suns have been the best team from the beginning. They have one of the best road records of all time. They've gone through a variety of injuries. I'm going to give Monty Williams my vote. And you're telling me Phil won it once.
Just the year they won 72 games.
So that's my thinking. But then I started really thinking about what they did in Memphis. And the Grizzlies are not only one of the great surprise teams of all time, but their record without Ja Morant is ridiculous. Were they 20-4 this year without Ja?
That sounds right. I'll double check for you.
I think that's where it wound up. And I just decided if you're going to lose your best player and still be one of the top 2 or 3 best teams in the NBA when no one saw it coming, that's an outstanding job of coaching. And so in the end, I wound up changing it, and I gave Taylor Jenkins my vote as the Coach of the Year this year from the Memphis Grizzlies. That's who got my vote.
They went 20-5.
20-5. All right, so 20-5 without Ja this year, which is insane. I mean, they won 4 out of every 5 games. They won 80% of their games without their best player. Who does that? So I felt he was deserving of it. And then it was, okay, so let me tell you about my All-NBA first team. So All-NBA first team was a challenge because you have 2 centers. You have Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. And both of them are pure centers. The ballot allowed me to put Embiid on as a forward if I wanted to. So I thought that's a crossroads because he's not a forward. So if you're going to put Embiid on the first team as a forward, it means someone is going to get left off that deserves it because I have to put a third-team center on that doesn't otherwise deserve it. I could have easily put, let's just say if I did it in this order, Jokic is my first-team center, Embiid my second-team center, and Karl Anthony Towns is my third-team center. By putting Embiid in, that means that I had to put another center on the third team that otherwise would not have made it, and that means someone gets left off that team. So that was my dichotomy. In the end, I decided I felt Joel Embiid had a season that was worthy of being first-team All-NBA. And even though it isn't his position, I did put him in as a forward. So my first-team All-NBA is Giannis and Embiid with Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Devin Booker. That's my first-team All-NBA. I'll run through the second and third teams quickly. Second team, DeMar DeRozan, Jason Tatum are my forwards. I made DeRozan a forward, even though he's not really one, because it was more convenient. He was listed as both. Karl Anthony Towns is my center. Ja Morant and Chris Paul are the guards on my second team. My third team is like a pipeline to the Hall of Fame. Third team All-NBA. The forwards are LeBron James and Kevin Durant. The backcourt is Steph Curry and Trae Young, and then Rudy Gobert is the center. And so those are my first, second, and third All-NBA teams. And then finally, the big one, of course, is MVP. I will tell you that up until the last minute, I had Giannis at number 1. And I got my mind changed, and I ultimately voted for Jokic. Nikola Jokic's numbers, and I don't like to put everything on numbers, but the separation of his team's season, like all this time I kept thinking, well, the East is better than the West. No, it's not, actually. Go look at where these records wound up. The East is not better than the West. And Nikola Jokic played the entire season without their next best player. Jamal Murray did not play a second this year. And without him, he got them in as a 6th seed, and their record is practically as good as Milwaukee's and Philly's. And his numbers are historically great. I could not overlook how historically epic the season that Nikola Jokic had from an analytics standpoint. His statistics were off the charts. And so in the end, I gave Jokic my vote for MVP. I have never agonized over any decision I've ever made in sports to the degree that I did that. Hembo reaction.
I like it. Look, Joel Embiid complained a couple weeks ago that there's some sort of built-in Philly bias or something, because he could tell that he was losing the award, right?
Yeah.
There is no question, in my judgment at least, that Jokic is the most deserving, and I'm a numbers person. But the primary reason why I think so is because if you just happen to look at how his team performs when he's on the court versus off the court, they go from being the best team in the NBA to the worst team in the NBA. I think that's probably the most compelling argument any player can make why they're the most valuable.
Who gets your vote, MVP?
The nerds get it right this time. It is Jokic.
Really?
This is why people shake nerds.
Attaboy.
I'm surprised to hear you say that. I would not have thought that.
I just think based upon what he's done for that team, that he deserves it. And the numbers, we have never seen anyone put those type of numbers up. And I just feel like he deserves it. And you could, and Giannis finishes second. Unfortunately, I think in 10 seconds, that Embiid gets hurt because of Harden.
So that is my ballot. I told you that I would tell you everything I did and my thinking behind it. It was a privilege.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.